Hello, everybody. FAI here, or I here, and welcome back to another Akurite Talks video. Well, maybe not Akurite Talks video, more like a FAI tips and tricks video. But in any case, either way, yeah. With that being said, welcome back. In today's video, we will be talking about well, a aim and why your aim is pretty much terrible, because let's face it, 9 out of 10 of you probably have pretty terrible aim. I'm not saying I'm not one of those people. I do have terrible aim myself, but I mean, there are ways to fix it. And one of the main ways to fix your aim, of course, is to learn how aim works. Now, I know a lot of you are probably going like, well, I always ADS, and shouldn't that be the perfect way to aim? And in many ways, not exactly. I mean, you don't want to perfectly try to ADS, or you don't want to always just end up aiming down sights. I mean, as a keyboard and mouse player, it doesn't help you with your recoil or any burst control, or it doesn't help with bloom or anything. Most of the time, ADS is really mostly in the case of if you are using long to medium range. Now, even in long to medium range shots, you shouldn't ADS all the time, because let's face it, at the end of the day, you're probably going to end up not being able to get your shot all the time. Another thing is learning to lead your shot. So, what do I mean when it comes to learning to lead your shot? Well, when you're shooting someone, take your time on your shot. Don't just panic shoot. Learn to lead your shot. Learn to watch how people are moving, and wait for a pattern where you can kind of go, okay, they're in this pattern. Once they stop on this point or this pattern, I'm going to quickly scope in and of course take a shot at them. Now, that's one great way to basically aim down your sights and learn to lead your shot, because again, by leading your shot like that, you basically ensure that no matter how often they will do this one move, there's always going to be a certain point in that pattern where that move is going to end up with them being able to have a shot, get a shot off on you, or have them get a shot off, and you will get an easy hit off them. And that's what I mean by learning to lead your shot. Now, again, this is going to take some time. You're going to have to learn the patterns of character movement and stuff, and you're going to have to learn how this pattern works in many ways. Now, of course, this is not perfect. It's not easy. It's not always going to be something that you will be able to get right off the bat. Even I'm still learning how to, match my pattern, how to get it to where I'm in a certain pattern, and recognizing how the movement works. Because again, when you recognize how the movement works and stuff, it makes it much easier for you to basically lead your shots and end up having some people maybe consider you or think that you're like an aimbot or something. And in many cases, if you're a keyboard and mouse player, you're obviously not an aimbot, but as a keyboard and mouse player, you'll learn better aim. Now, of course, I'm talking about keyboard and mouse. What about you controller players? Is there a point where you should lead your aim or learn to ADS all the time? And in the controller, ADSing is okay to some degree, as you will be in some degree able to ADS and still have a ability to basically control your fire, control your shot, and control how how easy it is or how hard it is to hit somebody. Now, of course, like I said, as a controller player, you will be able to ADS a lot better, and you will be able to give yourself an easier shot overall to lead into and lead over. But one thing is, don't ADS all the time. One mistake that many players will make is the fact that they ADS all the time, and they basically end up lowering their always ADSing, hoping that it'll lower their bloom or lower their shot radius. I mean, that's something that you don't want to do. You want to be able to lead your shot so that you're in a controlled or in some way a recognizing the pattern of this person that you're shooting at. Always try to instinctively, if you will, predict where they're going to be. So, for instance, if you see someone who is like, I don't know, let's say around the corner or something, obviously when that person is around the corner or something, you're obviously going to end up being able to, recognize that they are, trying to lead their shot or whatever, to make sure that they are, basically always, getting into this perfect aim shot. Now, snipers do it all the time. Now, one reason why a lot of people hate snipers and recognize they hate, and even I recognize the hate of snipers, is the fact that they take their time on their shots, and most time they will be pretty dead spot on with their headshots or whatever. Again, this is something that most anyone who is using a AR or assault rifle, a shotgun, a pistol, and a submachine gun, may not always recognize is the amount of reasoning to lead your shot and get to where you are in a position where you can lead your shot into a perfect angle. Now, like I said, when it comes down to it, take your time and wait for your opponent to make a wrong angle, a wrong peak. In some cases, even use cover if you have cover. If you're not playing Fortnite, and in the case of Fortnite, learn to use cover as your ability to make someone waste bullets and go into a if you will pattern that makes them uncomfortable, or recognize until you recognize the pattern, like peek out a little, maybe make them pass off a few shots if you're at ranged, and then while you're at ranged, if you're at ranged, then have them peek out a few shots, make them shoot a few times so that you can recognize what kind of pattern they're doing, if they're always ADSing, if they're actually using all their mobility. Those are things that you gotta recognize, because again, the reason your aim is pretty much terrible on any game, including my aim, is because you're not leading your shot. You're not learning to lead your shot. You're just kind of seeing the person on the screen and going, oh, hey, look, I'm going to shoot this person now. And then that's all you're recognizing. You're just recognizing that you're going to shoot this person right now because you're just you're not leading your shot or anything like that, And that's something that, like I said, you just got to recognize, to make yourself better. Now, it's going to take time to get to that point, to really make it to where you are, able to basically recognize what the pattern is, and maybe even getting into a, you can do this almost instinctively. Now, again, like I said, this is not something that you will be able to do right off the bat. Not everyone can do this right off the bat. In fact, I would say many of us are not going to be able to do this right off the bat. And again, that's okay. If you can't do this, don't worry. It's not going to be something easy to do right off the bat. In many ways, a lot of us are going to struggle at doing this, and a lot of us are going to have times where it's just going to seem like difficult for us to do that. And again, I recognize that this is not something that everyone is going to be able to do, because again, it's not something that just comes naturally to us. For us, it's not easy to lead shots. It's not easy to recognize that we have to lead our shots to do these things. Many of us will not recognize leading our shots, and many of us will not know how to lead our shots to make it to where we're better off. Now, like I said, when it comes to mobility, you've got to learn to utilize your full mobility. Not everyone recognizes or even utilizes their full mobility. A lot of players, including me, will ADS a lot of times because, again, if you're not a controller player, or if you are a controller player, then, you're going to ADS because, again, it's easy to make it an easier shot. And, of course, let's face it, at the end of the day, aim assist will take over. And because aim assist will take over, it makes it much easier to, of course, recognize that, you've got to take your shots and stuff, or it's easier to recognize the shots and stuff that you got to take, and it's easier to recognize what is going on. But again, like I said, take your time and learn your movement patterns. Learn how to make a movement pattern that'll be maybe unpredictable to some players, and maybe make it even harder for some players. I mean, you also got to learn how to, of course, in some cases build and stuff. But again, building stuff is another future episode. It's not something that we need to talk about today or right now because, again, at the end of the day, it's not something that will be important to learn on this video. I mean, in this video, we're focusing all about aim and learning how to make our aim better, which is, like I said, leading your shot, learning to lead your shot. Now, again, this is something that not everyone's going to be able to do right off the bat. Even I still struggle with it. And even I'm still struggling at putting it all together to where I'm not only leading my shot in aim, but I'm also recognizing the situations where I've just got to take the shot. And that's another thing that many of you got to learn to recognize is when are you too defensive versus when are you getting too aggressive. Now, this is something that many of us have to learn to recognize, obviously. And not all of us are going to recognize it right off the bat. In fact, many of us are going to have times where we're not going to recognize the situation or even be able to recognize what is going on. But, in time, of course, we can obviously fix the issues and fix what's going on. We can learn how to, be more offensive, if you will, and learn to be a little more, overall attacking or even just controlling the fight in general. I mean, that's something that, many of us have to recognize and many of us have to just get used to the factor of is learning how to do all these little things. I mean, it's little micromanagements that are always going to be trouble. I mean, you got to just recognize that when you are ADSing in any case, shape, or form, then just learn to basically control it. Learn to basically get better at focusing these things. Now, I mean, how can you get better at your ADS or at your hip firing and whatnot, or your aiming? As a control player, I mean, just learn to quick scope a little bit because, again, when you quick scope, aim assist will take the rest. We'll take the rest over. We'll control the rest, and we'll make it to where you can get a perfect shot every time. Because, again, it's not going to snap your aim, but it will give you a shot that you can, you can, of course, recognize, and you can, of course, use to get better at the game. Which is always something that I find to be absolutely necessary when it comes to playing in this game and playing in any FPS game is, learn to lead your shot, learn to give your shot a point where you can see a pattern. Like, rather, if you're a sniper, obviously it's going to be very, very easy to learn to lead your shot. Just take your time because, again, as a sniper, it's going to come to a point where someone's going to stop, and then if you're aiming your sights at the perfect point, then you should be able, if you predict where they're moving, then you should be able to basically, take them out as soon as they stop or as soon as they go into a predictable pattern, like moving in a straight line. And that comes down with tracking stuff. But, I mean, again, how do you get better at tracking? How do you become better at doing these aim things? One of the main ways to become better at using your aim and tracking and stuff is just go into creative mode and learn aim training routines. Learn how to flick shot and stuff. Learn how to do all those aim training routines. Now, I'm not going to mention Kovacs right now because not all of you probably are playing on PC, but use creative mode to learn aim, learn to lead your shots. If you have to, go into box fighting if you really want to learn to get better at your aim while also being able to build and learn or recognize if you're being too defensive or whatever. These are small things that you just gotta, recognize and learn over time, and you will learn them over time. I'm not going to say that you're not going to learn them over time because, again, you will learn these things over time. You will become better at it, and obviously when you become better at it, it'll become easier for you to recognize it, and you may not even have to think about it anymore. And when you don't have to think about it, it makes it so much easier to basically lead into being successful or being even just better at the game. Now, again, it's up to you to learn these things and learn how to be better and learn, what you need to do. But obviously, like I said, it's up to you to get these, ideas in your head of, I gotta learn to lead my shot. I've gotta learn to get better at just, focusing on what is going on. Learn the character patterns, learn the movement, and just learn how to be better. I mean, and if you're trying to learn to be more defensive and get better at building and stuff, then, recognize when you have to build and maybe when it would be better for you to have some cover around you instead of just fighting in the open. Now, again, like I said, this is something even I'm still having trouble with, but, I start to recognize, of course, when I'm of course, needing to recognize the pattern and recognize the shots and whatnot. And, I also am starting to recognize myself when I need to, get better at just, aiming and whatnot and just leading gunfire, leading shots, and just, overall doing what I need to do to make it easier to shoot people. Because, again, part of it is just recognizing the patterns and what people are doing. Because, again, that's probably one of the main reasons you are missing your shots. I mean, one of the main reasons you're probably missing your shots is because of the fact that you're just not, you're not leading your shot. You're not trying to predict where somebody will be or what somebody's doing. You're just trying to, basically focus on the gunfire, the what you see now, what you see right on the screen. And that's the biggest mistake that a lot of players make, including me. I mean, I'm not going to lie, everyone makes that mistake. Everyone is like going to not recognize or, realize that they have to learn to somewhat predict what's going on. They have to learn to get a better idea of, oh, okay, this is happening now. This is what's going on right now. I can deal with this, at the moment. And, those are the things that you've gotta, learn to recognize yourself. It's not going to be something that even I can do or give you right off the bat. I can't promise you that your aim will get better within a few days or just within the evening. It takes some time to learn to lead your shot. It does take your time. And, you obviously just have to recognize, what can I do to get better at learning to lead my shot? Well, the main thing to learn to do to get better at leading your shot is learn to recognize the patterns. Maybe watch movement. Watch how people are moving. Watch how people are doing things. Just follow them around for a little bit. I mean, it's easy to, of course, recognize or go about your day and then just kind of start shooting someone right as soon as you see them on the screen. I mean, even I run into that issue a lot, and even I manage to have that problem. But, it's easier just to follow somebody and then eventually, once you see them in a standstill position or a pattern where it's going to be an easy shot, you take the shot, And that's how you should win or even get better at aiming. I mean, that's how you get better at aiming. That's how you win. That's how you get more out of your gameplay. And, obviously, it'll take time for you to get better at it. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be something that's just all of a sudden, oh, I can do this simply. It's easy. It's something I can do right now. And, that all takes time. It all will take time for you to get better and even get to the point where you can you can do this automatically, if not, without thinking about it. I mean, even for me, I'm starting to not think too much about, like, the patterns of movement and stuff. I'm just kind of waiting and I'm watching. And sometimes, like I said, in many ways, this also means utilizing your mobility, your full mobility. Don't just go into a pattern where if you see someone, you're just going to wait them out in a certain pattern with your ADS down or your aim down sights. Recognize that you shouldn't aim down sights if it's not necessary. If you can track someone without looking through a scope, looking through the magnification of your gun, or even just looking at the gun or looking through the aim down sights, then, learn to recognize that. And, when you do learn to recognize that, you'll obviously become better. You'll obviously, get to the point where it'll be easy to track people. And if they're too far away for you, or if you're really, really super far away from them, then I would say recognize that, recognize when you're super far away from them, and then, of course, take the shot when you necessarily need to. That's the best thing I can say, is just recognize what you need to do. Recognize like how the movement patterns of your enemies are. And like I said, if you have to, obviously use the sniper first. Learn to utilize your sniper work, and learn to get better at the get better overall. And, like I said, if you're not used to being aggressive because, you don't know how to use cover or whatever, and then, obviously, start with being a sniper. Start with being a long-range fighter, and then utilize the long range to your advantage. Learn to take it slow, recognize the tracking, recognize the patterns, and then, move from there. And if you do want to become a more aggressive sniper player, then learn to be a more aggressive sniper player by, of course, taking your time with, shooting, more in a quick scope battle. More where things are just like, the moment you notice the pattern, you are taking it right there, right then and right there. And, you'll get better. Like I said, it'll take a long time. Even my journey through to becoming pro level and higher tier has taken some time. And one of the main things is I've got to recognize how to aim better. I've got to recognize to predict where someone will be, their movement patterns, what they're going to do. And even make my movement pattern maybe a little more unpredictable, because let's face it, I'm obviously a predictable movement pattern sometimes. But yeah, with that being said, this is the video. This is my talk and my tips on why your aim is terrible and what is going on with how to get better on your aim. Take your time. Don't become discouraged from your gameplay if you are missing your shots. Slifer PK said it once on a video for himself, from a tip that someone wanted from him, which was, just forget the shots that you missed. Don't even bother with recognizing those missed shots, because again, when you miss shots and you keep missing, obviously more or less, people are going to recognize that you're missing your shots. You're going to panic. You may even become more frustrated with your shots, and, it's just going to become tougher for you to get better at aiming. So, learn to forget about the shots that you miss and learn to basically aim better. Recognize that you gotta aim better. By predicting where you think your opponent will be next. If you can, recognize the pattern, follow the pattern. Maybe see what they do. Make them waste a few shots. Because again, everyone's going to panic shoot when they see you up close and personal in their personal space. And this is something that I will tell you from experience, not only myself, but from experience, is recognize the pattern. Recognize what is going on with your enemies or you. If you're popping shots every day and you're missing your shots, and then all of a sudden someone just all of a sudden catches you off guard. Why did they catch you off guard? What did they do that you didn't do? That's something that you may want to try to recognize yourself, is what did they do that you didn't do? And what was it that you could have done that they did? One of the main things I will tell you from my experience and learning over time with tips and whatnot is, that if you're watching it, they found your predictable pattern. If you're not being predictable, or if you're being unpredictable and you're just making them waste shots and whatnot, you're making them panic shoot, you're obviously going to end up where they'll be in a recognizable pattern and you can pop one huge headshot damage and they're panicking even more. You continue your unpredictable pattern, who knows what will happen next? You could get absolutely to the point where they run out of ammo and now they have nothing except for accepting their fate of either losing or trying to run away from you, who all of a sudden is going to be in the advantage. I mean, we'll talk about it in another video, but advantage is key to winning every single fight. And again, that'll be talked about in a future video. But again, that's what I mean by, when it comes down to it, learn to make unpredictable patterns for your opponents. Because again, when your opponents first see you, they're obviously going to first start shooting immediately. And when they first start shooting immediately, they'll start shooting right at you. If you can make your pattern unpredictable at that point, they may even try to rush in on you. And if they rush in on you, and you, in the case of Fortnite, you build up, you build your cover, you make it to where, they have to network either above you, network through your tunnels, network around your build, or whatever, then you're obviously going to be in the advantage, and you're obviously going to make them panic a little bit more, and make them a much easier target for you to hit, because again, they're going to run in a recognizable pattern. They're going to make it to where you are, they are making it very, very easy to predict what they're going to do next. And yeah, but that's the video for today. Hopefully these thoughts have helped you with getting better at, of course, at Fortnite, or just getting better at your aim in general, because these are just general aim tips. They're not like super, tips that everyone can, everyone can't utilize. It's something that, I would say anyone can do, anyone can recognize, anyone can get into this, point where it's going to become easier to recognize the patterns. I mean, another thing, one last tip that I would say is also recognize when you are reloading. Don't just get caught in a reload animation. I mean, you've seen it in this video already a few times by me. I've gotten caught in bad reload animations, and because I got caught in bad reload animations, obviously, again, predictable pattern, it leads into the predictable pattern and the fact that you're going to lose easily on any fight. But yeah, with that being said, thank you everybody for joining me today on this video. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit the like button, get subscribed, hit the bell notification, because I know you want to know when my next video drops next. Thank you everybody for joining me today on this video. Thank you for watching this video. And yeah, with that being said, I am live on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/FA_EYE. I'm live on Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday for sure. But lately, I've also been live on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday and Saturday, I'm usually live for about 4 to 5 hours, sometimes a little bit longer. Mondays and Tuesdays, I'm usually live for about 2 to 3 hours. And, Thursdays, I'm also live for about 2 to 3 hours. But with that being said, I hope to see you on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/FA_EYE. And, with that being said, until the next one, everybody, this is FAI signing out and saying... Farewell, everyone.